Imagine being invited to a wedding and then end up being surrounded by hundreds of ruthless demons and ghosts. Because that's exactly what happened to this legendary singer from Kuwait. We all know one of the happiest things for people from all around the world is wedding. Because hundreds, or in some countries even thousands of people, attend weddings of their beloved ones to share happiness with them by celebrating, eating, dancing, and most importantly, making memories that will last forever. It is a very special and sacred day for everyone, regardless of their religion or nationality. But here is a question for you. Have you ever wondered how demons or ghosts enter the wedding ceremonies? And how can they turn these beautiful events to terrifying tragedies? Well, get ready for today's incredible story of the famous Kuwaiti singer Noura, who officially retired and disappeared from public after this incident. For this story, we have to rewind and go back to year 1997 in Kuwait. In the 90s, most people usually have used their houses to host the wedding ceremonies. Booking a hall or a hotel was a very rare thing for Kuwaiti people during those days. So whenever there was a wedding, relatives of the bride and groom would decorate their houses to host it. One of the most common things in all weddings is having bands or any form of music. Unfortunately, in the 90s, DJs or playing through loudspeakers was not used much in Kuwaiti weddings. Instead, Kuwaiti people would invite local bands known as Taqaqa, which is basically a type of band that performs traditional Kuwaiti music, but also their style of playing and singing is usually very enthusiastic one. It lights up the whole wedding and its people, and it brings life to the wedding. Give you some examples. At the time, the most famous singer of this genre was Noura. She was extremely famous in all parts of Kuwait, and what made her special is her very strong and unique voice. Not only that, Noura also wrote and composed all of her music. She was so famous to a point, even people from outside Kuwait would contact her and offer her huge amounts of money to perform in their weddings. Noura was basically like Adele for these Arabs. So one day, exactly at 10 p.m., Noura received a phone call from a Kuwaiti family asking her to perform in their daughter's wedding, and their house is located in an area called Sabahia, which is in southern part of Kuwait. Noura agreed with the family to perform in exchange for 500 Kuwaiti dinars. 500 dinar, which was equivalent to $1,600. But let's not forget the fact that this was in the 90s, which means 500 dinar was more like over $2,000 for Noura. It was a salary of 6 months for some people in Kuwait. So after the deal was made, Noura told her bandmates, who were 5 to 6 members, to prepare for the wedding. So, upon arriving to the location, Noura along her bandmates were shocked. The house looked incredibly beautiful. It was decorated to perfection with beautiful lights, roses, and kids playing in each corner of the house. However, they didn't start immediately. Instead, Noura and her bandmates went to a special room that was prepared by the family for them to stay and practice until they are ready, and also to wait until the house is completely filled with the relatives of the bride and groom. So, Noura's band stayed in the room until 10:30 p.m., when they finally came out and started performing their songs. During their performance, they noticed the house is getting more and more crowded until it was fully packed. They continued singing until 12 a.m. in the morning, and between each song, they took short breaks. As we mentioned before, Noura was an extremely famous singer at the time. So, the guests of the wedding used this opportunity to talk to her whenever the band took breaks. However, something shocking was happening during those breaks to Noura's bandmates, as they noticed something very strange.
Noura, don't you notice this strange thing about all these wedding guests, which I'm noticing?
No, what's so strange about them? I don't see anything.
Whenever we took short breaks, these women come to greet us, but I feel this heat coming out of them, and their cheeks seem so hard when they're closer to us. Didn't you feel the same thing?
No, dear, there is nothing wrong with them. Maybe they are born like this. God has made them like this.
How can't you feel the same way? It's like their faces have thorns in them.
After this, despite of denying everything, Noura was very uncomfortable and scared, but to avoid giving a bad performance in wedding, She tried to ease her bandmate and make her relax temporarily. Also, she didn't want the news to pass to the rest of the band members and end up making them all scared. So, the band continued singing normally even past 12 a.m. However, things started to get out of control little by little. The guests started dancing with so much enthusiasm, to a point, it felt like the whole house is shaking. The noise and sounds of the guests was getting extremely louder. Things started becoming weirder and insane. Then the disaster struck. Noura and her bandmate saw something that they have never seen in their entire lives. During the middle of one of their songs, they noticed the guests who were dancing are normal-looking humans, but their feet looked nothing like natural human feet. The demons or ghosts can disguise themselves in human form, but not entirely. They can look 99% like any normal human, but they will always lack something to complete the look. What Noura and her bandmates saw from the guests made them doubt the nature of these guests even more. The guests looked like any normal humans, but they had terrifying animal-looking feet. At this point, the band members started losing their minds out of fear. As a result, their performance started to get weaker. The bandmates constantly looked at each other with shock while performing to confirm whether if all band members are seeing the same thing, or it's just Noura and that first member who brought up the topic from the beginning. After the band was informed about the situation, what Noura had to do next can be considered either total insanity or professionalism of the highest level. Instead of running or leaving the wedding, Noura started singing loudly and ordered her bandmates to play louder and stronger, because she thought if they continue playing like that, nothing might happen to them. But if they stop, however, or get intimidated, things might get worse. So, the band followed her lead and continued playing, until one of the band members just couldn't take it anymore and she collapsed completely from what she had seen. One of the guests noticed her and immediately approached her, but Noura stepped in quickly and told them that her bandmate is fine, but just a little tired. So Noura stopped singing and took her to a room to calm her down.
Now will you finally admit and realize these people are not humans at all?
Please bear them a little longer so the band can finish up and leave shortly. We can't allow them to have any doubt or feel anything bad toward the band, because they might hurt us. I know they are demons. What can we do? Let's continue our set normally, like nothing has happened, so we can leave in time.
And that's exactly what happened. Noura took her friend back to the stage, and the band continued playing until around the Islamic Fajr prayer time, which is usually around 4 a.m. in the morning. However, things just couldn't stop getting crazier and scarier. As they were playing, the weather for an unknown reason started to get colder and colder. They were confused. How can weather change so rapidly within minutes? It was freezing cold. Anyway, they still continued playing until suddenly the house completely lost electricity, and everything became quiet. The shocking part was not only the fact that it was freezing cold or losing the electricity, it was the silence of so many guests at the same time, which terrified the band members. How can so many guests become silent at the same time like they are not even there? That was the final nail in coffin for Noura and her bandmate. The house was filled with demons. It was freezing cold and dark with no lights since they have lost electricity. As a result, her bandmates started screaming hysterically like they have never screamed before. They were scared and going completely insane from the horror they witnessed. But yet again, Noura remained silent despite being terrorized and somehow managed to pull herself together. Unlike her bandmates, Noura had a brave heart, and she also knew Islamic verses from Quran to protect herself and her bandmates from demons. So she began to read them in heart and told her bandmates to calm down so they can use this opportunity to leave. And just like that, the band managed to escape. But just when they thought they have survived the hell and escaped the house, out of nowhere, an old man showed up near the house from which they just escaped. Noura and her bandmates were stunned again. and were confused to believe whether this old man is a human or a demon, just like the hundreds they have seen earlier. To make things worse, one of her bandmates collapsed again. The old man, with his frightening looks, asked them,
"What have brought you here in this place?"
Noura collected and calmed herself once again and replied with,
I am an artist. My name is Noura, and we were invited here to sing in a wedding.
It is impossible for humans to be inside that house because it has been abandoned for 10 years, and no one has entered it since then.
Noura looked back to point towards the house, but what she saw was shocking. She saw the house was completely empty. There was no sign of people or cars, which they have seen when they arrived to wedding. It was very obvious the house has been abandoned for years, based on signs and condition of it. Noura was not satisfied from that conclusion, so she asked the band members,
Then where are the kids who were walking and playing here? Where are all those cars which were parked over here? Why there is no signs of them? Why there is no signs of their steps on this ground? So who called me? Who was the person who agreed to book me for the wedding? How the people in this house managed to speak with me and bring me here? How were we able to see the beautiful decorations and lights, the food, kids, and the guests? Everything was literally in front of us. I guess this confirms the guests who had rough cheeks with hot heat coming out of their bodies were demons. We were singing in a wedding of demons.
The people of this house left 10 years ago, and they have never returned. If all of you have seen all these things, then it means they were certainly demons. And I personally can confirm this because we all know for many years that this house is haunted, and no one ever likes being near it. We always hear sounds and noises from it, despite no one living inside it. All I can say, just be careful, and never go near that house again.
The old man left, and Noura, along her band members, was stunned from what they were just told. They still waited a little longer, staring at the house to see if something shows up, but nothing happened. The house was dark and filled with horrific silence. After this incident, Noura officially retired from her singing career and never performed again in any shows or weddings. Also, she has never been seen or heard from since that day. Unfortunately, the only time the world heard about her again was on the 7th of May 2016, when it was announced through news that Noura has passed away. According to reports, the reason of her death was due to natural causes, namely aging. Noura was 66 years old when she passed. We hope you enjoyed watching our video. Please join the journey and become a part of our family by subscribing and liking this video. We work very hard to bring you these amazing stories, so stay tuned for the upcoming amazing stories.